You know, you probably think you live in this perfectly borderless, completely globalized digital world.
You're right, because everything on our screens tells us we do.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You sit at your laptop in Toronto, you click a button, boom. You instantly stream a massive 4K resolution movie from some server in Los Angeles.
Zero friction.
Zero friction, zero delay. It basically feels like magic.
Yeah, it does.
But then, and this is the crazy part, the very next minute, you try to legally charge a client in that exact same city in Los Angeles just for an hour of your freelance graphic design work.
And suddenly the magic stops.
It hits a brick wall. Suddenly, this invisible border guard steps in,
Yeah.
and they effectively slap this massive, debilitating tax on your time.
It's an illusion, the whole borderless internet thing. It is a complete illusion.
You are being lied to, honestly. And that is exactly what our deep dive is about today. We are paring down this fake globalization.
Because it is incredibly comforting, right? The technological surface of our world, the emails, the Zoom calls, the cloud storage, it's completely flat.
Smooth as glass.
Right. But underneath that digital surface, the actual economic machinery is choking. It is literally choking behind these massive invisible walls.
And if you're listening to this right now and you say you run a small consulting agency, or you freelance, or you just try to do remote work across international lines, you know exactly what we're talking about.
You felt the friction. You just might not know the math behind it yet.
Oh, the sheer dread of a foreign client asking you to fill out a W-8BN tax form.
Oh, yeah. Or figuring out cross-border liability insurance. It's a nightmare.
It is. So today we are mapping these hidden borders. And we aren't guessing. We are not just throwing theories around.
No, we have the receipts.
We have a foundational, frankly shocking study from the National Bureau of Economic Research, the NBER.
Right. This is by Anderson, Malot, and Yotov. And it is a classic for a reason.
Cold, hard data,
Yeah.
exposing the borders controlling your life and your economy.
And we really need to emphasize, we aren't talking about some minor annoyance here. Services make up over 70% of developed economies.
70%. That is the vast majority of human economic output.
Exactly. The internet promised us a flat Earth.
Yeah.
But the data. The data proves we are basically living in medieval fortresses.
Okay, but, and I have to push back here, just as a reality check. Make this make sense to me.
Sure.
I can video call someone in Tokyo instantly, but actually doing business with them is somehow harder than shipping a literal ton of steel across the ocean.
It sounds insane, but yes.
I mean, steel is heavy. It requires boats.
Right. But you have to realize, if you ship a ton of steel from Vancouver to Seattle, it's visible. We know how to handle it.
It goes in a box.
Exactly. A standardized shipping container. It hits a port. A known standardized tariff is applied. It goes on a truck. We have smoothed out the rules for physical boxes over centuries.
Okay, but a service isn't a box.
No, a service is, well, it's a promise. It's an hour of expertise. It's professional liability.
It's invisible.
Highly invisible. And when you try to export that service, you aren't fighting physical gravity. You're fighting regulatory gravity.
Regulatory gravity. I love that term.
And the data proves this invisible regulatory gravity is vastly stronger than ocean currents or mountains.
So just how high are these invisible walls? Because this is the cognitive slap of the whole study.
Oh, it's a massive slap. Services have no physical weight. They don't sit on cargo ships, yet their cross-border resistance is astronomically high.
Give me the number.
The globalization of services is lagging behind the globalization of physical goods by a factor of 7. 7 times. The borderless service sector is actually 7 times more restricted than shipping physical stuff.
That is just, wow. The whole digital boom we celebrate is basically a smokescreen.
It really is. It hides a heavily restricted economy.
So how do they even measure this? Because like you said, services are invisible. You can't just count the shipping container.
Right. So the researchers use something called an economic gravity test.
Okay, let's keep it simple. No academic jargon.
Deal. Forget the complex equations. They basically took a concept used for physical trade and adapted it. They measured 3 really simple things.
Which are?
First, home bias. How much do we trade strictly with our own town or province?
Okay, like a local bubble.
Exactly. Second, domestic bias. How much do we trade with the rest of our own country?
Right.
And third, foreign bias. How much do we trade with the outside world?
So local, national, and international.
Yes. And the math behind this is flawless. It's a closed system.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning it perfectly balances. If the trade doesn't go overseas, if it's blocked, it doesn't just disappear. It must be getting trapped at home.
Like plugging a hose. The water has to go somewhere.
Precisely. And by measuring how much trade is unnaturally trapped at home, they calculated the invisible friction at the border.
And this is where it gets terrifying, the phantom tax.
The phantom tax, yes.
Because crossing an international border isn't just a hassle. The researchers found it is a financial bloodbath.
It really is.
Trying to export a service equates to paying a hidden phantom tax of, get this, 52% to 111%.
Up to 111%. Let that sink in.
Free trade is a complete myth. You are paying a massive toll just to play the game.
It is a devastating hidden cost.
But hold on, let's unpack this, because again, my brain struggles with this.
Oh, counterintuitive.
Highly counterintuitive. If I'm a Canadian architect, and I email blueprints to New York, nobody is stopping the email.
Right.
There is no customs agent asking for my credit card before the email sends. So where is this 111% tax coming from? Are we talking about licensing, insurance, just pure paranoia?
All of the above. It's invisible friction. Your email went through, sure, but to legally and successfully do that job, you probably have to hire a U.S. lawyer.
Just to understand the local New York zoning laws.
Exactly. Then you have to buy U.S. compliant software. You might have to physically fly down to get state credentials.
Because my Canadian professional insurance definitely won't cover a building collapsing in Manhattan.
Not a chance. So you buy specialized cross-border liability insurance, which is insanely expensive.
So it's death by 1,000 administrative cuts.
Yes. And when you add up the time delays, the currency hedging, the legal fees, it mathematically acts identically to a 111% tariff on a physical good.
We are being secretly taxed by bureaucracy. That is maddening.
It is. And to figure out who gets hit hardest by this, the researchers didn't just look at the whole economy as a blob.
Right. They put 9 specific industries under the microscope.
A massive data panorama, 1,173 bilateral trade routes across 9 massive sectors.
They're talking transportation, communications, finance, education, healthcare.
This isn't a broad generalization. This is a microscopic autopsy of how different industries behave when they hit a border.
And what they found introduces one of the most anti-digital concepts I've ever heard. The curse of geography.
Gravity always wins.
You'd think an email doesn't care if it travels 10 miles or 10,000 miles.
You'd think that, and you'd be wrong.
Geography is still actively choking waitlist services. The data here slaps you in the face. Every time the geographic distance between 2 places doubles,
the trade violently shrinks.
Violently, the physical distance between 2 people still dictates if they will do business online.
They found an average distance elasticity of negative 0.671, which means distance is actively killing trade, even when there's no physical product to move.
Oh, wait, here's where it gets really interesting to me. I totally get why I don't want a dentist doing a root canal over Zoom.
Right. You need physical proximity for that.
Biology demands it, but education, why is that trapped in a geographic abyss?
Oh, education is glued to the floor.
But why? Why can't a kid in Vancouver just log into a virtual Harvard class? The technology exists.
It does. But we have to separate delivering a service from trusting a service.
Okay, what do you mean?
Zoom can deliver the lecture perfectly. But what are you actually buying when you pay for Harvard?
Yeah, you're buying the piece of paper, the degree.
Exactly. You are buying the accreditation. You are buying the trust of local employers. And that trust is highly localized.
So the data proves this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Healthcare has a massive distance elasticity of negative 1.420. If you move away, it drops off a cliff. Education is negative 1.010. Also terrible.
Whereas communications?
Barely affected. Negative 0.297. A TV signal doesn't care about borders. A medical license absolutely does.
It's just awe-inspiring, the sheer stubbornness of human nature. We have the tech, but we still demand our essential services be localized.
We want the person certifying our skills or fixing our bodies to be right down the street.
So if these services can't leave their local area, what happens?
They get locked in. They become entirely trapped inside what the data shows are provincial cages.
Provincial cages? I mean, we are drawing circles in the sand here.
We are. Provinces and states, for that matter, are intensely tribal. They heavily favor doing business with themselves.
The specific data point here is wild. Internal trade inside a single province is a staggering 3.06 times higher than trade with a neighboring province.
Within the exact same country.
Same country, same currency, same federal laws. But if you cross a provincial line, the trade drops by a factor of 3.
And here's a truly counterintuitive fact. Sharing a physical border with another province.
Like being right next door to each other.
Yeah. It does almost nothing to boost trade for services.
Wait, really?
Really. For physical goods, being neighbors is huge. Trucks just roll across.
Yeah.
But for services, the only exception the data found was wholesale.
So for everything else, finance, health, education provinces are basically walled gardens.
Utterly walled off. And if the walls inside a country are that bad, imagine the walls between nations.
Oh, man. The asymmetrical wall?
Yes. The U.S. and Canada.
Because the walls between these two nations aren't just high, they are one-way mirrors.
And we need to be very clear here. We are presenting this purely functionally, based on the NBER data.
Right, impartial reporting. We're not taking a stance on which healthcare system is better. We are just looking at the math of how trade flows.
Exactly. And the math shows a massive paradox.
Canadians easily cross the border south to buy U.S. healthcare.
All the time. Escaping wait time, seeking out highly specialized surgeons. The border is relatively thin for that.
What Americans going north for Canadian healthcare?
They hit a titanium wall.
Titanium. The export barrier for Canada selling to the U.S. is negative 1.4 deal. But the U.S. selling to Canada, it's negative 5.099.
It is entirely skewed. Canadian hospitals won't take U.S. domestic insurance. The system is strictly rationed for citizens.
So it's basically like a nightclub.
The nightclub.
Yeah. Canadians are on the VIP list to get into the U.S. healthcare club, right? Assuming they have the cash to pay the massive cover charge.
Oh, right.
But Americans can't even get past the bouncer at the Canadian clinic.
That's a perfect analogy. The bouncer is state regulation. It completely overrides geographic proximity.
What happened to free trade? The longest undefended border in the world.
Defended by paperwork. The friendly borders are incredibly bureaucratic and completely one-sided.
And if regulations are this powerful on a normal Tuesday, what happens when a massive historical event forces a country to rewrite all its rules overnight?
You mean 9/11?
Enter 9/11, the day the borders turned to concrete.
The study provides this incredible before and after snapshot. 9/11 didn't just impact air travel and physical cargo.
Right. Everyone remembers the airport's security lines.
But the data proves it immediately and permanently thickened the invisible borders for services.
The researchers tracked what they call security thickness. And there was a massive spike in friction post-2001.
5 out of the 9 service sectors saw a huge chilling effect on trade entering the U.S.
But, and this is where the plot twists, the reaction wasn't mutual?
No, it wasn't. And this exposes a deep divergence between trade and security.
While the U.S. was frantically building high walls, right, thickening its borders, Canada actually thinned its borders for U.S. services over the exact same period.
It's a massive divergence. A global crisis didn't cause both sides to lock down.
The U.S. export barrier to Canada actually thinned by positive 0.16, while the Canadian export barrier to the U.S. thickened by negative 0.13.
The U.S. prioritized absolute security. Canada prioritized keeping its economic lifeline open.
But amidst all this, amidst this unprecedented security lockdown, there was a loophole.
The academic privilege.
The U.S. border actually got thinner for one specific group, Canadian students and educators.
It recorded a positive 0.390 thinning effect.
Why? Why did education get a free pass while every business consultant was being strip-searched and interrogated?
It's because of tracking.
This detail is face-slapping. The U.S. implemented SEVIS, a massive tracking database for foreign students.
They traded border friction for absolute surveillance.
So what does this all mean? The U.S. basically said, we trust you less, so we're building a system to monitor your every move, which ironically makes it easier for you to cross the border.
Exactly. We will let you in easily because we know exactly where you sleep, what you study, and when your visa expires.
That is wildly counterintuitive.
But think about the consultant. The business consultant post 9/11 just shows up at the border. No massive university database vouching for them.
Right, they just have a briefcase and a meeting in Chicago.
And they hit the concrete wall of security paranoia. Security reshapes the actual flow of human capital.
Okay, so if the U.S. border became this terrifying obstacle course, where did all that Canadian service energy go?
It got sucked into a funnel.
The funnel of bias.
Remember what we said earlier. Trade is like water. If you block it overseas, it doesn't evaporate.
It flows back home.
The researchers built a perfect model of this physics of trade version. Home bias plus domestic bias plus foreign bias equals 1.
So if the international border thickens, local trade has to artificially balloon.
And balloon it did. It created a freak show of a distorted domestic loop.
A freak show is the right word. Because the international walls are so terrifyingly high, trade turns inward to a degree that is hard to fathom.
The domestic bias, meaning trading within Canada, is on average 800 times higher than the foreign bias.
800 times.
800 times.
The global free market is a myth. We are living in highly localized echo chambers.
We really are. But here is the most fascinating paradox of the entire study.
The geographic edge paradox.
Right, because you would assume the biggest, richest provinces are the most globalized, right?
Oh, 100%. You'd think massive economic hubs like Ontario and Quebec are the global players, Montreal, Toronto.
Wrong. They are hermits. They are highly biased toward trading with themselves. Quebec's foreign bias is only 3.8%.
So who are the real globalists?
The remote frozen edges of the map?
The Yukon Territory? The Northwest Territories?
Exactly. The Yukon has a foreign bias of 16.4%. The Northwest Territories is 12.3%.
Why?
Because they have to be.
It's like a small-town kid having to use the internet to find their niche community, while the popular kid in a big city never leaves their neighborhood because they have everything they need right there on their street.
That is exactly the physics of it. Size creates an artificial gravity well. If you are a consultant in Toronto, there is enough business in Toronto to keep you fed.
You never need to jump the 111% wall.
Right. But if you're in the Yukon, there isn't enough local economy to survive on. You are forced to leap over the walls to the outside world.
You brave the paperwork because you will starve otherwise.
The margins are the real global players. The centers of power are deeply insular.
Mind blown, truly. But I have to ask, how do we know this isn't just an economic guess? Academics love their theories.
Oh, this is the best part. Scientific validation. Slide 18 of their data. The flawless math.
Hit me.
They tested their deduced bias indexes against fixed effect hard data, real-world numbers.
Yeah.
The correlation was exactly 1.000.
A perfect match.
A perfect match. In economics, that is practically unheard of. This model has the precision of a law of physics. We have scientifically proven the exact dimensions of these invisible walls.
So the math is terrifyingly exact. Which brings us back to the most crucial finding, slide 16 of our deep dive.
Reevaluating reality. Services are 7 times more locked down than physical commodities.
7 times. And this reveals the massive, unbelievable opportunity sitting right in front of us, the policy dividend.
Unleashing the Kraken.
Because these walls, they are not made of stone.
No, they're made of paper, bureaucracy, regulations, credentialing.
So what happens if government simply treated services the way they treat physical goods?
If they just lowered the regulatory walls to match the tariffs on, say, a shipment of lumber.
Yeah, what happens?
Cross-border service trade would explode by 700%.
A 700% explosion.
It would completely reshape global wealth.
Let's unpack this. We are sitting on an economic goldmine. A 700% boost to our biggest economic sector.
Right there for the taking.
But we refuse to pick up the shovel because we are obsessed with our local rule books. I mean, is it stubbornness or is it protectionism?
Well, look, regulatory walls exist for a reason.
Sure, protecting consumers.
Right. You want your doctor to be a real doctor. You want your bank to be stable. Maintaining standards is important.
I agree. But are they completely disproportionate to the actual risks today?
The data screams yes. The regulations have become protectionist moats. We are artificially holding back global prosperity to protect local guilds and provincial monopolies.
It's incredibly frustrating, but also it's immensely hopeful. If it's just paper, we can rewrite the paper.
We can, but as we look to the future, are we about to make the exact same mistake again?
Oh man, the AI era.
This is the ultimate test. We thought the internet killed distance, but geography, borders, and bureaucracy still rule the service economy. But now, artificial intelligence completely destroys the concept of geographic distance for knowledge work.
And AI doesn't have a passport.
Exactly. It has no weight. It needs no visa. It is the ultimate global service provider.
But look at what governments are doing right now in real time.
They are panicking.
They're drafting laws for data sovereignty. They are demanding AI servers be located on physical home soil.
Rebuilding the walls.
Are we watching history repeat itself?
I think we are. Technology is once again trying to tear down the walls, but our governments are already quietly pouring the concrete for a brand new set of invisible borders.
Digital borders for the AI era.
Precisely. They couldn't stop the emails, but they heavily taxed the humans sending them. Now they can't stop the AI, So they're going to chain the servers to the ground.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a massive question to ponder.
Look closer at the invisible walls in your own professional life.
Think about the credentials you hold, the software you are forced to use, the foreign clients you avoid because the paperwork is just too much of a nightmare.
Who is building those walls in your industry?
And more importantly, who is profiting from keeping you trapped inside them?